Great. So for your Capstone project part 2, it's going to be using one of the three wireframes you submitted for your Capstone project part 1. And the way that we can look at what we need to do is by just going into the Capstone project part 2 section here and then grabbing the document that's up at the top here. After we grab that, we can go ahead and open up it in the Word document. And the main thing that we're going to do with this document here is three items. We're going to be talking about what is required for the Capstone project part 2. And the three main things that we're going to talk about is the colors, the fonts, and the logo. So if you notice up here at the start of this Capstone presentation, let me zoom in a little bit here. You'll see that there's not too much in the way of foods or items inside of here, but there is just basic text and color schemes and pretty much that stuff. So that's all we really need to worry about. Now, how do we get started on this project? Well, what you're going to reference is you're going to pick out one of the three wireframes that you chose from the first project. Remember, in the first one, you submitted 3 different wireframes, and you're going to pick the one that you would like the best. Now, as a quick note, I know a few of you did a drawing, which is perfectly okay for part 1, but you're going to need to translate that drawing into a Photopea project, because from here on out, we're going to be using Photopea to complete our work. Now, what I'm going to do really quickly is just go ahead and pull up Photopea here. And I'm just going to do my new project. And remember, if you did your Capstone project part 1, what you can do to open up your file is download it from the submission folder and then open up that file inside of your Photopea. Now, if you don't have access to your file, or if you found it's missing, or whatever happened to it, you can let me know, and I'm more than happy to... Whoopsie-daisy. Not break all my stuff here. I'm more than happy to download it and then send it over to you, so that's perfectly fine. But just make sure you know you have the file that you used for your favorite wireframe. Now, I'm not saving a file, so I'm just going to do a fresh start. But again, you should be using the previous file that you had to save yourself time and hassle. So I'm going to go to New Project. And then again, inside of the print section in this new project, there is a letter size down here that is the 8.5 by 11 inches, which is the style of font that we used for the previous one. And I'm just going to keep my background at white, and I'm going to hit Create. And now this might be similar, or just should be familiar to everyone here. I just have a very similar blank page where I can add in my textures and items. So very quickly, if you don't mind me doing it, I'm just going to do a very rough mock-up of what I'm expecting. But again, please make sure that you give it a bit more time and effort in this. I just don't want to create a 15-minute video of me doing the entire thing, but I just want to show off what is going to be expected. So I'm just going to create a very just on-the-spot type of mock-up here for us to work with. And we'll see if it looks okay at the end of it. And maybe I'll add in some more items here. It's kind of hard for me to see if that looks okay. Let me duplicate this. And then I'm going to Daisy. Move it over. Great. So, okay. So now, again, I'm just going to do what we did in the previous one as well. And again, mine's a bit more rough than what is expected from you guys. So definitely give it some more time and decision-making processes with where you want to put your items. But again, what I'm going to do next is something that we've already done in the previous topic. And that is just put in our lorem ipsum text. And you can refer to the Capstone project part 1 if you were not familiar with how to do this. But I'm just going to kind of quickly run through making up my own type of mock-up for our purposes here. And what I'm going to do underneath that is just make some more versions of this, but this time make the text a bit smaller and underneath it there. Cool. Now I am trying to slow down during the videos as well, because I do know sometimes I talk a bit faster. So I just want to make sure that you guys can see maybe one way. And as a note, if you don't like what you submitted for your Capstone Wireframe 1, or excuse me, your Capstone Project Part 1, you're more than welcome to change it around to how you would like it. But just let me know and keep me up to date with those decisions. Now what I'll do here, for the sake of time, is go ahead and duplicate this a few more times. And now I have this kind of neat little menu item of just lorem ipsum text. Now, if you recall from your Capstone Project Part 1, I mentioned the use of folders to help navigate and to maintain your objects. So what I'm going to do is try that one more time. Now, all 4 of these items are within my menu. And what I'm going to do is highlight the 4 text items, and then go down to the new folder and click on new folder. And what I see now is that I have a folder 1 up here. I'm just going to call this menu items. And you can get pretty complicated with these if you'd like, but I'm going to go ahead and see if I can, see here, duplicate the menu items. And you'll notice, because it saves how it was, oopsie daisy. Let me see if I can click all the items in the menu item. I'm able to kind of duplicate the menu that I had before and just easily pass it around as I would like. So let me do this a few more times. I just want to show off what one version of this might be. Great. Cool. So I'll try to get through this a bit more faster. Sorry, everyone. I just want to show another example, of course. And voila. So this is kind of my very rough menu item. And again, please, because I noticed this in some of these submissions for Capstone Part 1, add in some more information down here if you're doing it your way. For instance, I would just keep going with these as I am now. And I might just do another row of them if I wanted to in my final product. But again, for the sake of time here, let's just imagine that I have these items down here, and then I might have some more items underneath those. So maybe I'll have some circles down here, or whatever it is. Just some interesting little menu items to help spruce up whatever menu I'm making here. So again, definitely get creative with the shapes. I could put another line down here at the bottom if I wanted to do it that way, and so forth. There's lots of different things I can do here to make sure that this looks okay. And so now that's kind of your what you did in your Capstone Part 1, right? So what are we doing in this new Capstone with all of the logos and fonts and colors? Well, remember, there are the 3 main things that I just mentioned again we need to do. We need to first figure out what type of colors that we're going to look for inside of our objects here. So how do you go about picking out the colors that you want to see? Well, there's some really interesting sites up here. This ColorMind.io, I think, is a pretty good one. Oh, let me just make sure it's good. It's saying it's a security threat. So let me just double check this one. So cool. So this is your ColorMind.io. And ColorMind essentially just generates a color scheme that's a really nice color scheme to work for anything. So you can see here that there's some pretty interesting versions. If you're a fan of TV shows or some games, they have the color schemes of those here. And let's just say, let's go to some website colors here. There's definitely a lot of stuff you can look at that are interesting, but the generation up here is good, I would say. You can keep generating items until you like what they look like. If you don't like Color.io, I believe the Adobe, this one here, is really good too. Let's see if we can jump over to that one. Cool. And so now you can see here that there's a ton of schemes that you can choose from, and it really depends on what type of website you want to go for. If you want a very quiet and like low-key menu, or excuse me, not website, a menu that you want to go for, that's there. If you scroll down to the bottom of the adobe.com Explore area here and you hit next, you're brought to some other colors. You could have a very bright dynamic color group, or if you see over here, you can have a very bluish gray one. There's lots of different colors you can pick from. Now, what do I do once I find a color that I like? I kind of like this one just because it's a bit easier on the eyes for me right now. And so you can see here that I opened up this Iceland dark light theme. So what do I do about trying to get this into my wireframe object? Well, before I go ahead and show everyone how we can do that, let me just add in 1 or 2 more items here of text, just so that we can make our items that much better. Let me make this one name title. Okay, that's not going to do it for me. Awesome. And I'm just going to go ahead and with this one selected, make it a bit bigger here. And maybe I'll call this one just, oops, easy, title. So this will be maybe my name of the restaurant, and then the rest of it will just be other areas of my restaurant. And again, as you can see, my menu is a little bit weird looking, but it's always a work in progress. But as we recall, I found some colors that I really wanted to use because there's some really cool color combinations here. And if we take a look at our scheme here, we see that there's some really interesting combinations that we can make with these colors. So for instance, with the first color up here, or excuse me, with my title, I could maybe reference the colors that I see in here and use them there. So if you take a look at these hexadecimal codes that are there, if you hover over them, it says copy. And all you would really need to do is, I kind of like this green, so I'm going to hover over to green and hit copy. And it copies the hexadecimal code to my clipboard. If I have my color selected like I did earlier, and I go back into the wireframe menu that I created, the way I can change my color is by clicking on the shape, going up to the fill option up here, and then if you'll notice that I can change my color down here as I would like, but what I'm going to do instead is double click on the gray big square at the top up here where my cursor is highlighting, and if I double click on that, I get a color picker that I can then use to drag around. And so what I'm going to do inside the color picker is paste in the hexadecimal code that I used, and then I'm just going to hit OK. And now you'll notice that when you go to your fill, you actually have a new color there that is the hexadecimal color that we used earlier. Now you'll also see that the black is a bit hard to see onto this green background. So what I'm going to do is try to look for a type of brightness in this one. And this blue is pretty nice, so I'm going to copy this one. And then inside of the title here, again, going to be the same type of concept. I'm going to go to the text and hit the title or whatever label you have put this as. I'm going to go up to this black option up here. If you notice here again, next to the size and the font style, and I have hit T. If I hit this black square, I get the color picker again, and I can copy and paste in my blue code. And now I have a new type of color scheme that is using this 2 hexadecimal codes from here, and you can kind of just keep going like this way. So again, maybe you like how the shapes look behind the objects there. So I can duplicate this a little bit. I can move this shape down. I can maybe go to edit and free transform, and then I can put this shape behind the top of the title there. I can hit OK. And then this lorem ipsum is a bit hard to see, so I'm going to hit my text, go over to my shape again, go up to fill type, paste in that new hexadecimal code and hit OK. See here. And then for my text as well, I'm going to go to my T and then hit my text again. And then once I have that color picker selected, I can hit in my, I can put in my hexadecimal code again as well. So you can see here, I restarted from scratch, but you can definitely go back to your previous PSD files and then just manipulate them and change around these settings using these methods here. Now there's another thing that we need to do here for this project, and that's just your colors. So again, for the sake of time, I don't want to do all of these here, but I can definitely release the final product as an example if you would like to reference it. And after we do our colors, what we're going to try to do is some of the fonts. See here. Now on the fourth page, it talks a bit about the font there, and I'm going to show you two ways you can go about your fonts. So if you go ahead and let's take a look at just the title for right now to work with it. If I select the title and I go up to the top left when I have my T selected down here on my menu on the left side, I can hit Deja Vu Sans, and I have a bunch of titles or fonts I could choose from. And I already saw a few people working with fonts, so completely understand. If you guys, this is old news to you or anything, but there are a ton of fonts to choose from. And if you don't like any of them, what you could do is, per the instructions, go to some of these websites. So one of these here is the Copper Black font, and that one's pretty interesting. But what you can also do here is copy and paste the link that he pasted for us for Copper Black. And what I'm going to do is show everyone how we can go ahead and download and install this. And what I'm going to do is, I don't want the Copper Black regular. I'm going to try to find my own font here. Let's see here. This one looks pretty interesting. The interstellar log. So I'm going to go ahead and just click this button here that says download font. And you'll notice that when you're brought to this fonts or into this item here, you have a bunch of options to choose from. All you need to press is this download font zip file. Once you click that, see here, it should download for us. There it is. Awesome. So once you click that, you'll notice that the font gets downloaded into a zip file. And when you open up that zip file, you'll see here that I have another folder. And inside that folder, there's another folder. And what you're going to try to look for is something called a TTF file. Now, once you have a TTF file, and again, it might be different for each one you find, so you just have to search through it as well to find it. You can go ahead and drag this to your desktop. And again, I have mine on my desktop or just somewhere safe where you'll remember it. And what I want to do now is, if I want to use this font, what I'm going to do is hit my title, hit my T, and then go up to where I put my font in before. And once I select that, you'll notice I have an option here called Load Font. Now, if I select Load Font, go to my desktop, my interstellar log, true type font file is there, and I can open it. It will say if you want to manage it, just hit OK. And you'll see now I have my font 001 loaded. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to go through all of these to find it. I'm just going to type in 001. And if I click on that one, I now have updated a font that I really enjoy, and I have added it into my file, and I can mess around with it as I'd like. And the nice thing about this is, as soon as you load in this font, you don't need to do it again. So for instance, I'm going to go to the other lorem ipsum. I'm going to select my T. I can hit my font again. This one's a bit of a big font though, so I might need to make it a bit smaller. That's fine too. But in general, once you load in your font file, you don't need to worry about doing it again here. Now there's one last thing that I wanted to show off here, and that's creating a little bit of a logo for your menu here. And the logo, again, can be anything that you would like, but we're going to try to make it into a vector graphic logo. And again, per the quiz, what's the most important thing about the vector graphics is that you can make it as big or as small as you'd like. Now, how would you go about making a logo? Well, if you recall from our previous projects, we made a logo using the pen tool with the wine glass, and there's a lot of interesting things we could do. But what I might try to do for right now is, let's go to my rectangle tool. I'm going to right click, and there's a custom shape option down here. And if I press the custom shape star that's at the bottom here, there's a shape with a drop down up here, and if I click on that, I now have a bunch of stuff I can choose from. And again, it doesn't matter which one you pick, but you could definitely mess around with some of these. But what I wanted to show off is you can definitely combine these as well. So let's say that we're working with computers a lot. What I can do here is there's a type of terminal logo here. I'm going to go ahead and select that and drag this object out here. And do you notice the color it's using is the same color from my hexadecimal one from earlier? And I'm going to go back to my shape option up here. And let's see here. Let's just say that I was working in, or maybe my restaurant's in an airport. I can then drag out an airplane here. That looks like a type of terminal that's in the airplane. Again, my creativity might not always be the best, but as you can see here, and one more thing, you'll notice how these are going into this folder. I'm just going to drag them out because I want to show what you can do after you put these together. So let me drag my plane to this one. And then let's say at the very end, I can just make a little gray circle behind them. Whatever you would like to do. Doesn't necessarily need to be the most complicated or advanced. Maybe you can even make a type of shape as well. I don't really like that shape though, so I might just use an ellipse. And then maybe I'll change it to a gray background, but not that guy. Okay. So now I have my 15th shape here, and I'm going to change this one to gray. And then I can just try to put this behind my objects there. And right now you'll notice that it's in front of them. But again, how do you put stuff to the back? Is you just need to drag it because they're like the pancakes. So what I'm going to do is drag these down here. And now you'll notice, actually that background looks a little rough, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete it. And now I have a neat little logo I can work with. Sorry about that with the ellipse, but again, this is up to you. And you can see here, his logo that he used was the Fork and Pork restaurant menu. And you can definitely do some combinations to merge it into a type of, to merge them into a type of title. What you could also do is just do something small with your vector graphics to combine them. And then you can keep these separate. And what you can do then is what we did in Project 2. I can shift click on these two objects. I can right click and go to merge layers. After I've merged layers, I can rename this as my logo. And now, of course, because it's a vector-based graphic, what do you remember about these? I can make this logo as big or as small as I'd like it, and then it would maintain its quality because it's using math and not the pixels. So awesome. So this is my very, very rough draft of a type of Project 2 that I'd be expecting you guys to create. Again, please don't just leave the majority of it blank. Again, I want to make sure that everyone just gets an understanding of what to do and how to approach the project. But definitely take some time. Look at some fonts that you like. Look at some colors that you'll think will be cool. There's actually a ton of colors out there that are always really interesting to work with. So make sure you take some time and figure out how to make a restaurant menu that you really like.